Hi, welcome to the Gamesplainer. I'm Jeff the Gamesplainer and today I'm Gamesplaining Clinic. So, Clinic came out last year, 2019. It is a 1 to 4 player game. I believe that it has come from Kickstarter as a couple of years back, but this is the version that's in the shops now. It's called the deluxe version. I don't know what the non-deluxe version would be, but that's okay. I didn't back it when it was on Kickstarter, and it is what it is. Clinic is an exorbitantly heavier game than it first appears. I believe that the Board Game Geek rating for how heavy the game is in the 4.25-ish kind of space, which makes it one of the heavier games that I've got. Strange enough, it's up there with the Vita Lasadas that are just sitting right up on the heaviness rating. I think that is probably accurate. Having played it a few times, I'm kind of like, yeah, this is a heavier game than it appears to be at the first outset. What you're trying to do in this game is build up a hospital and put doctors into the hospitals with nurses and orderlies to then heal patients. And your patients come in and it works on a color system. So it's white, yellow, orange, and red. So the closer to red that color is, the worse they are. But the more money you'll bring in. You can move patients from the spot where patients are available down onto a booking sheet, I guess you call it, and they can sit there, but each round they will get a little bit sicker. So if you put a red token over there, they're going to die, you're going to lose points. But if you put a white token over there, if you heal them as a white token or as a white person, they are only going to get you like 8 money. Whereas if you can leave them there for a few rounds and heal them later on, you'll get substantially more. I believe that the red tokens are getting like 35 money, something in that ballpark. There's a huge gap between them. The doctors, when they're in your hospital, every round, they're going to get one color worse because of exhaustion. And that's something to be very aware of. There are some other rooms, because you are building up your hospital, so you've got the ability to bring rooms into your hospital. There are some rooms that are going to make doctors 2 colors better or 2 colors stronger. But not everyone at the table is going to be able to get those rooms. And this, I think, feels like it's a bit of a kind of moment, because there's no way to get rid of doctors from your hospital once they're working there. You can't fire them. Even though the rules kind of suggest you can. You can't fire them. There is no way to get rid of doctors. So if you bring in even red doctors, eventually they'll become white doctors. And they're really only able to do white medicine, I guess is the terminology for it. You can put nurses with the doctors. So if you put 3 nurses with a white doctor, he can heal a red patient, which is fine. But you've got to have the nurses, and getting that many nurses in is really hard. And so I found that in playing the game, if you didn't get one of those rooms into your hospital that allows you to upskill a doctor, it's really hard to do well with this game. It's really hard to kind of heal and heal and heal and heal. Especially considering at the end of the game, there are points for having the darker color doctor. So if you've got a red doctor at the end of the game in your hospital, it's worth 5 points to you. If you have a white doctor, I think it's only worth 1 or 2 points from memory. That's a little bit crunchy and a little bit kind of, if you're not the person who's able to get that room, you're going to struggle. I had a game this the other night where it was a 3-player game. The 2 of us managed to get those types of rooms into our hospital. The other player, he couldn't get it, and he was struggling. The entire game was a struggle, simply because he didn't have the ability to, within the doctors he had, to just make them stronger and make them better. That one little element, while it's a part of the game and it's part of the thinking on the game, it feels like it's a little bit on the person who doesn't quite get it. And there aren't enough those rooms available for everyone at the table to be able to have one. The other thing this game works on is time. So it takes time to move around your hospital, and that's negative points. So every 3 times that you use, it's 1 negative point. at the end of the game. And there are, once again, these rooms, there are rooms like that save you 3 time. You're able to put in conveyors that enable you to move quicker through between the rooms. And those are really good things. If you forget they're there, it's really hard. And you end up with a heap of negative points at the end of the game. There's all these little elements that kind of you have to think about, but they're not in your face to think about. So you get to the end of the game having not thought about them, and you're going to get substantially less points than those who have managed to think about them. And I think this is what this game comes down to, is the ability for you to maintain all of the information so that you can actually use it to your advantage, rather than your ability to just maintain some of the information and you forget about the other things, and the other things are probably what's going to enable you to win. The game I had the other night, she would probably call herself the least experienced player, but she won the game. I was really happy to see that she won the game. I'm not 100% sure that there was 100% grasping of the game, because this was a heavier game than that group is used to playing. We usually kind of peter out around the 2.5, maybe push into a 3 in terms of the complexity level. But this up in the 4, and oh my goodness, it was crunchy. It was a lot of stuff going on. But as I said before, it didn't feel like there should have been a lot of stuff going on. The game that I had the other night, I fear that we missed a whole bunch of rules. So for example, the patients, we were only taking in 1 patient every time we went to the patient spot. But there's a ruling that says you get a patient plus 1, or at least a point, a Q point per entrance to your hospital. So if you have many entrances, you can take a whole bunch of patients in. If you only have 1 entrance, you can take 2 patients in, or you can move them around. I fear that we missed that, and we were just taking 1 at a time. I think that it would have been a vastly different game if we were able to take the multiple patients, and having those little minutiae details right are really important. So we played it wrong. The Gamesplanation is correct. I've checked on these rules, and I checked on the rules, but then there's also another cleanliness of the rules. So saying, oh, these rules aren't quite accurate, let's look at these, and it just cleans up the detail of the rules. And I read through that as well to make sure that I had this one right for you, because I really want this one right. If I have made mistakes, please comment to say, oh, this rule wasn't quite right. But I'm pretty sure this one is accurate. Because there's so darn much going on, I actually went back, after playing the game, I went back and read the rules again. And I was like, oh, we did that wrong. Oh, we did that wrong. And that's a really good thing for me to do, to make sure that you get the right rules coming at you. But some of the rules that come at you aren't necessarily in the box. And this is one of the issues I have with more modern gaming, is that we get games out there, but then we have to have this FAQ, and it's an online thing, and you've got to go searching to find detail and descriptions, and there's a couple of passages in the rulebook that suggest that you would be able to get rid of doctors, that you would be able to fire them. You cannot. That frustrates me. It frustrates me a lot that that's how games work. Tapestry, I see that up over my shoulder right here, is one of those games where they put the game out and they've actually said, oh, you're going to have to go to the FAQ because we're going to balance this as we're going and get the game out, but then balance it. I'm going to get the expansion on it because that will have those other rules in there. It's a frustrator, to be quite honest with you. I would much prefer that people stabilize the rules, so take a little bit more time to get those rules stable and then put it out. Go through the playtesting. I'm not saying that Stone Mind don't do the playtesting. I think they really do. But going through that extra level of playtesting to find those little itty bitty things, the playtesting with people who don't playtest your games is actually a really important step when you're developing a game. And I think that people should be doing this. There's so many games behind me that I don't want to have to, when I pull a game out, read the rules and then go to an online FAQ, is this right, is this right, is this right? Or go to an online changing of those rules that I've just read. It frustrates me. I want to have them all in the one spot. And that's really the problem with Clinic, is that all the rules are not in one spot. It wasn't checked and checked and checked. And this has been in development for a few years. The original Kickstarter was a few years back. There's been time for them to fix these rules up, yet we're still stuck with comments in the rulebook that suggest that people are going to be able to be fired or things like that. Putting all that aside, there's a heap of other stuff going on. So things like there are cars. So every person, working person, every patient has a car. Even if they come in by helicopter, they have a car. And that's going to fill up your board and make it really hard for you to build, because once the car's placed, you cannot move it. And so there's another level of thinking on that. And really, a lot of this game is just about the thinking of what I'm trying to build up. Look, I think that I have probably spoken to you long enough about Clinic for you to get an idea of the crunchiness of the game. Please go ahead and watch my Gamesplay and Gamesplanations to get a feel for how the game plays and what the game is actually about. If you have any comments or suggestions, please write them below. If you have any games that you would like to be Gamesplained, please shoot me an email to thegamesplainer@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter @thegamesplainer to keep up to date with the games that I'm playing. Subscribe to my videos to keep up to date with the games that I'm gamesplaining. And until next time, enjoy gaming.